Hey everyone, this is Roman Prokopchuk, and this is the Digital Savage Experience podcast. Today I have with me Yoel Israel. Yoel is the founder of WadiDigital and Cyfluencer. Thank you for joining me today.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me. It's going to be fun.
My pleasure. So tell me a little bit about your journey. How did you get to where you are today?
Um, well, originally it started off, at least let's say within like the digital marketing world. I ended up starting with Twitter in 2009. I met a friend of mine who was like, "Dude, you got to get on Twitter," and I was like, "What? What's up with that?" I was just kind of like figuring out Facebook, and I don't know. A lot of people might not even be able to understand like back in the day when you actually had different platforms. When like these platforms were new and fresh, it was so like fun. And I don't know, like Facebook used to have stickers. I don't know if you remember that. You could actually customize your platform. Your profile was a little more like MySpace ish. A lot of people don't know what that is. Anyway, I got way off topic. So I kind of got my MBA on that I was learning at the time. I got them on Twitter, and I got them like international student for their MBA, and they gave me a scholarship that understood I was strong. This is when I was living in Tel Aviv in Israel. I moved back to Philly, and then back in Philly, I was working at Xerox. I was doing it on the side hustle, Twitter and Facebook for small businesses. Someone asked me to take out ads, and I saw the dashboard. And having the finance background, loving all that data, I mean, I just fell in love and I couldn't look back. Got into Google ads, then naturally LinkedIn ads when I moved back to Israel. Everything here is B2B tech. A lot of the startups, so they're all targeting enterprises. So all the business that was in English that were trying to target international needed an advertiser in English to do B2B. I had that strength. I had that background a little bit, and obviously English is my mother tongue, so I was able to help them the most.
That's awesome. And how did you kind of go full time into your businesses from, the side hustle into, what you're doing kind of full time?
So I mean, I got lucky. Is for me, it wasn't gradual. I think those that have situations forced on them are much luckier than those that actually have to make those decisions. So I was working for someone when I moved to Israel, and let's say he wasn't the best boss. But it was in the tourism industry, and there was a war with Hamas, and so he had to lay me off. This is in 2005, so 2015, 5 years ago, and I was doing it on the side for his company. And then I had no choice but to just kind of like lean in. I'm making a few bucks on the side doing this, almost as like a hobby and whatnot. And then I just leaned all in, and I had to make it work so I could feed my family. And so I just went all in. So if it wasn't for, I guess, the war with Hamas, I wouldn't have been able to pivot.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time when you're not getting given a choice and you're not kind of comfortable and you kind of put it off, you have to make it work. I mean, me, in terms of being in digital marketing, the only reason I'm in digital marketing for the last 12 years is because I got into it out of necessity as a result of the 2008 recession. So I was going to
Right.
go kind of the federal criminal justice route, had an internship with the Secret Service, and then the economy basically froze and state, local, federal agencies stopped hiring. So
Yep.
opportunity came about. I was never into marketing, digital marketing, or much of the internet. And I said, I don't really have anything to lose because I have to do something. And basically, I
Right. Dude, I graduated in December 2008, right? And I was studying finance. I went to Temple University, right? So I'm from Philly. And so 2008, like in like September, there was like the huge financial crash, right? That you were talking about, huge recession. But obviously, the finance industry was slaughtered. And then Obama was regulated, who said he would like heavily regulate the banks and all that, and the whole industry. He would decimate them. And I remember I had an interview with Merrill Lynch the morning after they went under, and it was probably one of those awkward moments because it was like these interviews were set up through like the business school at Temple, and it's like they had to be there, and it was clear that there wasn't a job open for me, and it was clear that they didn't have a job by the end of the week. So it was kind of like they just didn't know. It was kind of awkward, and it kind of forced me to kind of change things up, do different things, pursue my MBA, and that some people can look at it as a victim, and then some people can say, okay, here's an opportunity. How can I position, make the most out of it? And then we were able to do that with the pandemic too. Is that kind of like lean in on what you're strong and good at, because all you have to lean on and lean hard, and you're able actually to do great things that way.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously, a lot of people can use the current state of the world in terms of maybe losing their jobs or getting laid off as kind of a curse and, why me, and blame it on the pandemic or something else. But there's something that, got created because a lot of people I've had on, it forced them to write their book, pivot into their side hustle, start something new, learn something new that they've turned into something that they've never really imagined. And if it didn't come about, they may have never kind of undertook it.
Right. Yep. Yeah, exactly right. And which is why I said, if you're lucky, you're forced into these situations. I would have never, let's say, had the balls to kind of like leave and just say, all right, I'm going to start my own marketing agency if there wasn't a war that decimated the tourism industry. So, and if I wouldn't have, I might have been still in finance if the economy and the financial industry wasn't absolutely devastated in 2008 and overregulated in 2009. So, you never know. So you never know. That's why, every curse is a blessing in a way, in disguise. You know what I mean? God's pulling the strings, not me.
Yeah, I agree. I had someone on that basically stated it. Everything in life is a blessing or a lesson. So if
There
something
you
bad
go.
happens to you, you take it, you repurpose it, you learn something from it, and you apply it to something that you want to do. Or obviously, a lot of the time, a bigger hurdle or bigger challenge comes about, and you're better equipped to deal with it.
Yep. Exactly right. Wise man.
So, what motivates you to succeed? Obviously, those motivations may have changed over time, but what currently motivates you to succeed?
So I find like sometimes, I mean, everyone's different. Once sometimes it's just wanting to succeed, wanting to outdo someone else, being competitive in nature is great. You use that, and then kind of you always want to be better and get better. And then I have this fear that kind of like Jeff Bezos has. This is kind of like he talks about like Amazon is one day is not going to exist. I just hope it's after I die. And he talks about the death of Amazon a lot and the mortality of the company. It makes him want to continue to innovate, expand, and do new things. And that's kind of I see it. I know, like, I earn a good living now, thank God. And people go in and out of different income brackets, and I know that to be true. So I don't know how long it will last. So I need to continue to innovate and continue to adapt, continue to change, continue to grow. If not, then I won't. And that's what motivates me. I kind of see business here, and I think a lot of things like personal development, anything, right? You're like on a down escalator. You just got to climb up at a faster rate than it's pushing you down in a way, right? In order to make it to the top. That's kind of how I see it. So I'm always just keep trying to climb, adapt, change, because I have the fear of becoming extinct, which can totally happen. I've seen it happen to other people. Why can't it happen to me?
Yeah, I agree, and I mean, I often say that complacency is the death of innovation. So if you kind of take your foot off the gas pedal, if as an individual, as a company, majority of the companies that were Fortune companies, let's say 30, 40 years ago, aren't there because they thought they were on top. They don't have to innovate. The markets aren't changing, and
Yeah.
stuff like let's say
IBM, Xerox, Blockbuster. I mean, you
yeah,
name it.
Blockbuster is a perfect example that they could have bought Netflix several
Right.
times,
That's
and
the
they said,
standard because Netflix came to them and said buy me.
"Yep."
Right.
So
That was like that's as good of an example. But I mean, IBM is another great example. Or Kodak, or HP. I mean, a lot of these companies. Oh, some of them rebounded. HP is rebounding and things like. But I mean, there's just scores of example. I think like I think it's like 20% of the Fortune 100 companies were Fortune 100 companies 30 years ago, something like that. It's crazy. It's crazy.
yeah, and it's that mindset of kind of you're at the top and nothing necessarily is coming along the way or you see on the horizon that can kind of take you out. But even if you depend everything, so I mean, I've had opportunities where I've consulted companies where it's like you have all your eggs in one basket in terms of marketing, you're getting all your traffic. What if something happens? Because this specific example, they were all betting in Google Organic, and they had this kind of sketchy structure in terms of page
Yup.
layout. Yeah, it was a directory.
And
It,
then boom,
yeah,
algorithm update.
yeah,
They don't exist.
it was when the bigger algorithms haven't come out yet, and then when they hit with the Panda update, the first one, their traffic got decimated because their pages were identical. It was just a little, variation, and they had millions of pages. And then they called me, and I was like, "I told you, and you didn't want to believe me." So I mean, I can't.
Can you blame them? I mean, things were so good. Why the hell? Why would I listen to the naysayer, right?
I mean, even that.
Everyone doesn't want to. They're like, why? I'm just going to keep leaning in on what's working. But the gods that be, aka Google, uh, have different. Do you remember back in the day, people would just like load keyword stuff on their website and like hide it in white on the bottom so
Yeah,
they would come up on Google.
clo content, clo
They
link.
could never. I haven't even heard anyone talk about that in a while. That's so long ago.
Yeah, and it's like regardless, like as an individual or as a business, regardless of how good you're doing, that environment will not last. So if you're doing well and the, market, whatever you're in is awesome, double down because kind of a storm is going to come at some point. And if you don't do anything in that good, prosperous time, you're not going to survive the challenges that come.
Yup, no doubt, 100%.
And even with, like you said, Facebook, Twitter, in terms of paid, like I believe that you should be testing new traffic sources. So even, I've tested TikTok, it's worked for some industries. So if a new platform comes out and user attention goes there, you should test it because you can
Often,
market to that, audience.
right, right. Often, if you have the budgets, you can prioritize. As marketers, you say, "Oh, do everything," but that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, not do everything. If you have an opportunity to test, like you said, you have a budget. I mean, you should have what's actually working and functioning for you
Right.
and delivering leads and sales. But if you have some extra budget, always test in terms of organic content and, paid.
And advertising, yeah. Oh, first mover advantage is so underrated as a marketer. I mean, you get to come in, you get cost per clicks really easily, you get to build up an audience very fast, organically. It's amazing what you can do if you go all in early on a platform. So it's really cool. Um, yeah, I totally recommend if you have the opportunity to be an early mover. Of course, it should be relevant. So like if you're doing B2B like I am, so TikTok isn't relevant, right? For example, right? So yeah, so I 100%, I totally agree. Go all in and find new opportunities. It's amazing what you can do when you go all in. You get the first advantage. That's actually one of the ways I was able to grow is I went all in on LinkedIn lead generation forums when they rolled out in April 2017. And I was the first and like the only one doing it. And I was able to bring in leads for myself using lead generation forms, being able to get my first enterprise clients, and then turning around and saying I would book people. And then I would say, hey, I could do LinkedIn ads for you, just like how I'm speaking to you using LinkedIn ads. I can do that for you. And they're like, oh, interesting. And no one was talking about it then. This was 2017. I was advertising before then even, but once those forms came out, their own platform, it was amazing. And cost per clicks then were a joke compared to what they are now. I mean, now you're paying dozens of dollars a clicks.
Yeah, I agree. So, what's one thing that you may have seen as a weakness in yourself in the past that you've turned around and utilized as a strength today?
Well, probably my greatest weakness that I've turned around was probably a lack of processes and not being able to properly delegate. So kind of when you get an idea that other people have processes better than you, and if you can bring someone from outside to take a look at the processes that you're doing or not doing, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. You don't know you don't know what tools are out there, what technology is out there, what kind of talent is out there, what you can do to easily to free up so much of your time. So if you're not sure what process, like prioritize processes or just how you would do things and how to prioritize different business tasks, if you're not sure what or how to do that. So like, even though I run a LinkedIn ads agency for cybersecurity companies, even though we do that, I mean, I never worked at an agency. So I don't know a lot of processes that are expected at an agency. So sometimes you got to bring it out someone from external to help you. So that's really one way how you can turn it around.
Yeah, I agree. I think processes are important in terms of if you don't have a process, you can't scale. So if you have something that you're doing, if you're a solopreneur, there's no way you can get things off your plate unless you have a process because you are offloading certain things you're doing and then want to replicate hopefully that success that you're having and then hire the fifth employee, the 10th employee for that specific role and then
Right.
automating processes in terms of marketing automation or different things in
Mm-hmm.
terms of kind of back end. If you don't have that, your time is being consumed by day to day, week to week kind of manual tasks that you either have to do or you have to designate other people that could be working on more cost effective and profitable things.
Right. Exactly right.
So, what's one piece of advice you may have for the audience, personal or professional?
You want to give both? I mean, personal advice is work ethic is an extremely important. Like really taking good quality of your work and networking. I would say networking, trying to connect with people, even a little bit in meetings, try to communicate with people as much as you can. Also get your LinkedIn profile in shape. I'll give one quick tip actually, since I do a lot of LinkedIn, is your headline must be the most important part of your profile. When you comment and engage on LinkedIn, there are four things that people see. They see your profile photo, they see your name, they see your connection, like you first, second, or third connection, and then they see your headline. Your headline is not to be confused with your job title. When you go to your experience, you can write your job title. That's what you do, right? VP marketing. You want to say this is when your headline is how you want to show off who and what you are on LinkedIn, the platform. So then when you're commenting, you don't want to write as, a marketer, social media marketer. Let's say that's what your job title is. You want to write, social media marketer. You know what I mean? Let's say you're in green energy. You know what I mean? For green energy, helping find solution, whatever. Like you add things about like who you are, your personality, your strengths, some action words, action items. Um, you win any awards or things like that, you put that in your headline. And then when you comment and engage, you got gravitas, and it's going to bring more people back to your profile where you can help convert them into conversations. So if you want to personally brand yourself, make sure your headline is kind of like a way of like show off in your headline, or really boast. That would be my personal, I guess the professional also. Right. The other personal thing is get a good night's sleep. So make sure you get 6.5, 7 hours of sleep minimum. It's amazing how much better your brain works, how much sharper you are, even though sometimes we're in denial of it when we get more sleep. 90% of the time, people that are in shitty moods, it's because um, in my opinion, they didn't get enough sleep.
Yeah, I agree. And I think rest and kind of recalibration in general, because eventually you will burn out as a business owner, entrepreneur, startup founder. I mean, mental health is one of those underlooked things. Kind of the rates of suicide are higher in that startup tech kind of community if you're doing it alone and you have kind of the weight on your shoulders to bear. And then with LinkedIn, people still today don't necessarily utilize LinkedIn's full potential from a profile standpoint. I mean, if you don't have a personal website, that is probably the most important place to drive people to. And people don't necessarily include other assets. So in, your featured articles, items in terms of things that you've done, things that you've published, media, really highlighting who you are and giving you as a professional credibility, I think is important. And a lot of people don't utilize that, or don't utilize kind of the blogging on or adding content to obviously your platform in terms of what it can do on a LinkedIn profile itself and on the platform. And obviously, organic reach has exponentially went up, and the algorithm kind of changed over time. And I think LinkedIn turned from more of a this is kind of my job resume, let me connect with recruiters platform, to me being a content creator platform in the last,
Yep.
I would say, year or two.
Yep. It's the community.
Yeah, and I mean, it's important because if you're being kind of validated by your community and fellow professionals, more opportunities, more limelight will come as well, and also some of the things that you do personally. So, I commented on a photo that somebody had their foster child. They got to adopt them. Me and my wife are foster parents. So, in the last 2 years, we've fostered 21 kids. So we made that connection, and
That's
then
cool.
we jumped on a Zoom call like that. That specific image, I believe, went viral. It had like 3 million views. So it's
Jeez.
like all this like connection happens that all you did is comment on that specific post, and it was the post originator that got back to me, invited me to a Zoom call. Now we're possibly doing some stuff in terms of nonprofit and just sharing stories and stuff like that. So you never know whatever you share. So don't be dissuaded by sharing, or sharing like what you're about, because oftentimes people think their story isn't big enough or their expertise, and there's a lot of people that have a farther reach than you, but may not be better than you, but do a better job branding themselves.
Hmm. Yeah, no doubt, 100%. That's awesome. The foster parenting that you do, more people need to do that. That's really awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging. I definitely can apply a lot of stuff in terms of patience, emotional IQ from each child and each case to
Yeah, it's
business and
amazing.
other
It's
things.
amazing how you learn, right? You can adapt. You speak to different people, and you need to be able to adapt the way you speak, the way you listen, your connotation and your voice. And when you deal with children, every child's different. Even So I have two daughters, right? But they're radically different personalities. So the way I speak to them is so different. So you learn that, right? You take that from kids and you're able to adapt. Different people sometimes need to deliver the message, different messages to get the same. You just say things differently to get the same message across, and it takes a
Yeah,
lot of EQ.
and from the situations oftentimes very serious in terms of abuse and neglect the kids are coming from, you learn to appreciate things more. And some things that, in business, you may get a passive aggressive email or somebody that doesn't know the full story and just kind of lashes out at you. And certain things
Right.
that you may react differently, you kind of like have a different perspective and don't let it affect you as much, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's probably a misunderstanding. And you have kind of more appreciation and a different view for certain situations.
Hmm. Right. Exactly right. Awesome.
So I really appreciate you stopping by today. Can you let the audience know how they can find you or anything else you have going on?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can check out our website, WadiDigital.com, WADI Digital, but really go to LinkedIn, right? Yoel Israel, 2 words, YOEL space Israel, like the country. And you'll find it engaged. I post daily about LinkedIn and LinkedIn ads, personal development, lead generation. And I put up stories about almost anything. I treat LinkedIn a little bit like Facebook, just without the pictures of cats and kids and politics. So filter out all the crap that we don't like to see on Facebook. Come follow me on LinkedIn and let's have a party.
Awesome. Thanks again for stopping by.
Thanks a lot, Roman. Cheers.